Ochre Court stands on Ochre Point Avenue in Newport, Rhode Island, one of the most impressive chateau-style mansions in America. The limestone facade, the elaborate French architecture, the commanding position overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Over 130 years of history have unfolded within its walls and across its grounds. But before it was a college campus, before it housed students and professors, before it became an educational institution, it was a summer retreat for one of New York's wealthiest families. The building rose in the early 1890s from a clifftop site along Newport's eastern shore. The work took 3 years. The cost exceeded $1 million, an astronomical sum for the period. This is the story of how Ochre Court was built, the Gilded Age wealth that financed its construction, the French architect who designed it in the style of a Loire Valley chateau, the craftsman who imported European materials and techniques to create an American palace, the family that occupied it for barely 2 decades, the transformation from private residence to institutional property, and the adaptive reuse that preserved the building when demolition threatened. The mansion's history is complicated. It was constructed during America's Gilded Age, when extraordinary wealth concentrated in few hands. The family that built it enjoyed the house briefly before circumstances changed. That reality is part of the story, neither to be ignored nor romanticized, but understood as historical fact. Understanding how and why Ochre Court exists requires understanding the era that created it, the ambitions, the wealth, and the social forces that shaped both the building and its eventual transformation.
Chapter 1. The Gilded Age, Summer Colony, Newport's Transformation.
Newport occupied 17 square miles of Aquidneck Island in Rhode Island's Narragansett Bay. The town had served as colonial port, Revolutionary War site, and modest summer destination. By the 1870s, it was transforming into something unprecedented in American society, a summer colony for America's wealthiest families who built elaborate estates along its coastline. The transformation began after the Civil War. Wealthy families from New York, Philadelphia, and Boston sought relief from summer heat in northeastern cities. Newport offered ocean breezes, natural beauty, and sufficient distance from urban centers while remaining accessible by steamship and rail. The town's existing infrastructure supported visitors, but the scale of development that followed would remake the landscape entirely. The concentration of wealth in post-Civil War America created a new class of millionaires. Industrial fortunes, banking profits, and real estate holdings generated unprecedented personal wealth. These fortunes sought expression through consumption, and summer estates became primary vehicles for displaying wealth and social position. Newport emerged as the premier location for this display. Bellevue Avenue became the most prestigious address. Families purchased land along the avenue and the adjacent coastal roads, particularly Ochre Point Avenue and Cliff Walk. The properties offered ocean views, substantial acreage, status, and proximity to other wealthy families. The competition to build the most impressive residence drove increasingly elaborate construction through the 1880s and 90s. The term cottage was applied ironically to these mansions. The Breakers, built for Cornelius Vanderbilt II, contained 70 rooms. Marble House, built for William Vanderbilt, featured marble imported from Italy. Rosecliff was modeled on the Grand Trianon at Versailles. These were not cottages in any conventional sense, but palaces designed to impress and overwhelm. The social season ran from June through early September. Families arrived with servants, staff, and possessions for the summer months. The houses sat empty the remainder of the year, occupied only by caretaker staff. This seasonal use reflected the house's purpose as settings for entertainment rather than year-round residences. The summer calendar included balls, dinners, garden parties, and daily social calls following rigid protocols. Mrs. Caroline Astor dominated Newport society during this period. Her list of 400 families deemed acceptable for high society shaped invitation lists and social standing. Acceptance into this circle required wealth, but also proper behavior, appropriate family connections, and adherence to social conventions. The competition for social position was as intense as the competition to build impressive houses. The economic disparity between mansion owners and local Newport residents was stark. The estates employed thousands of workers, servants, gardeners, and maintenance staff, but wages remained modest, while the wealth on display was extraordinary. The seasonal nature of employment created additional challenges for local workers who depended on summer work but faced uncertainty in other months. By the late 1880s, Newport had established itself as America's most exclusive summer resort. The concentration of wealth, the scale of construction, and the social competition created unique conditions. Into this world came the Goelet family, ready to claim their place among Newport's elite.
Chapter 2. The Goelet Fortune, Real Estate and Inherited Wealth.
The Goelet family traced its American origins to Jacobus Goelet, a French Huguenot who arrived in New York in 1676. The family established itself in commerce and trade, building modest prosperity through several generations. The transformation to extraordinary wealth began with Peter Goelet, born in 1768, who recognized the value of Manhattan real estate when the city was still compact and land remained affordable. Peter Goelet acquired property systematically through the late 1700s and early 1800s. He purchased farmland in areas that would become valuable as New York expanded northward. The strategy was patient accumulation rather than speculation. Goelet bought land, held it, and collected rents as development reached his properties. The approach required capital to hold unproductive land for years, but the returns proved substantial as New York grew. When Peter Goelet died in 1811, his estate included significant Manhattan holdings. His sons, Peter and Robert, inherited the property and continued the acquisition strategy. They purchased additional land in areas north of the developed city, anticipating future growth. The family's holdings eventually included property along Broadway, substantial acreage in what would become Midtown Manhattan, and various commercial properties throughout Lower Manhattan. Robert Goelet, Peter's grandson, inherited a portion of the family real estate in 1879. The property had appreciated enormously as New York developed. Land purchased for hundreds of dollars in the early 1800s was worth hundreds of thousands by the late 1800s. Robert's share of the inheritance made him one of New York's wealthiest men. His annual income from rents exceeded several $100,000, providing resources far beyond what spending could exhaust. Robert Goelet had two sons, Ogden and Robert. When Robert Sr. died in 1899, the estate was divided between them. However, the wealth that built Ochre Court came through Ogden Goelet's marriage rather than direct inheritance. Ogden married Mary Wilson, known as May, in 1879. May was the daughter of Richard Wilson, a successful merchant whose own fortune derived from international trade. The marriage united two wealthy families and provided Ogden with substantial resources for building. Ogden and May Goelet occupied positions at the top of New York society. Their wealth, while not matching the Vanderbilt or Astor fortunes, placed them comfortably among the city's social elite. They maintained a residence on Fifth Avenue, attended the opera, and participated in the social calendar that defined high society in Gilded Age New York. Their children, Robert and Mary, were raised in this world of privilege and social obligation. By the late 1880s, the Goelets had established themselves socially but lacked a Newport presence. Many families in their social circle maintained summer estates in Newport. The absence was notable. The decision to build reflected both the desire for summer comfort and the social necessity of maintaining position among their peers. Without a Newport cottage, the Goelets risked social marginalization during the critical summer season. The Goelets purchased 8 acres on Ochre Point Avenue in 1888. The property offered ocean frontage, elevated ground with views, and proximity to other major estates. The location placed them among the most prestigious addresses in Newport, neighboring the Vanderbilts and other prominent families. The site's natural advantages suited the elaborate residence they planned to build. With the property secured and financial resources available, the Goelets turned to the question of design. The decision of whom to hire as architect would determine what rose on the clifftop site.
Chapter 3. Richard Morris, Hunt, America's premier chateau architect.
Richard Morris Hunt was born in Brattleboro, Vermont, in 1827. His family's wealth allowed extensive education, including years of study in Europe. Hunt enrolled at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris in 1846, becoming the first American to study at France's premier architectural school. The education exposed him to classical architecture, Renaissance design principles, and the elaborate chateau style that characterized French country houses. Hunt's training at the École lasted through 1853. The curriculum emphasized drawing, classical orders, composition, and design theory. Students studied historical precedents intensively, learning to analyze and apply principles from Greek, Roman, and Renaissance architecture. The Beaux-Arts method stressed rational planning, clear circulation, and appropriate expression of building purpose through architectural style. These principles would guide Hunt's American practice. After completing his studies, Hunt worked briefly in Paris before returning to the United States in 1855. He established an architectural practice office in New York, bringing French design sophistication to American clients. His early work included commercial buildings, residences, and institutional projects. The quality of his design and his European training distinguished him from competitors who typically learned architecture through apprenticeship rather than formal education. Hunt's career coincided with the Gilded Age expansion of wealth. As American millionaires sought to build homes expressing their success, Hunt offered expertise in European architectural traditions that conveyed culture and taste. His knowledge of French chateau design proved particularly valuable. The chateaux of the Loire Valley and other French regions represented aristocratic architecture, appropriate models for American clients who aspired to aristocratic display, if not aristocratic titles. Hunt designed multiple Newport mansions before receiving the Ochre Court commission. His work for William Vanderbilt resulted in Marble House, completed in 1892. The design drew on the Petit Trianon at Versailles, executed in white marble with elaborate interiors featuring imported materials and skilled craftsmanship. The project established Hunt as the preferred architect for Newport's most ambitious builders. Hunt's work for Cornelius Vanderbilt II produced the Breakers, begun in 1893 after an earlier structure burned. The design referenced Italian Renaissance palaces, adapted to Newport's coastal site and the family's need for extensive household space. The Breakers' scale and elaboration exceeded previous Newport construction, setting new standards for grandeur that other families felt compelled to match. When the Goelets sought an architect for their Newport estate, Hunt was the logical choice. His reputation, his European training, his experience with major Newport projects, and his understanding of high society clients made him uniquely qualified. The Goelets wanted a house that would establish their position among Newport's elite. Hunt knew how to deliver such a house. The initial design consultations occurred in 1888. May Goelet apparently took particular interest in the project, working with Hunt to develop the program and character of the house. The Goelets wanted a substantial residence capable of hosting large entertainments while providing comfortable family quarters. They preferred French chateau style, which Hunt had mastered through his Beaux-Arts training and previous commissions. Hunt proposed a design based on chateaux of the Loire Valley, particularly those built during the French Renaissance in the 1500s and 1600s. The Loire chateau combined medieval castle elements with Renaissance classical details, creating picturesque compositions that were both grand and romantic. This style suited the Goelets' desires, and the Newport clifftop site. The design would feature steep slate roofs, elaborate stonework, projecting pavilions, and carefully composed facades. Hunt's drawing presented a three-story structure with central block and projecting wings. The plan organized rooms around a great central hall, with public rooms on the main floor, family quarters above, and service spaces in the basement and attic levels. The exterior would be Indiana limestone, chosen for durability and appearance. The slate roof would be imported from France, matching authentic chateau materials. The Goelet approved Hunt's design in 1888. Construction could begin as soon as site preparation was complete. Hunt would supervise the work, ensuring his design was executed properly. The architect's role extended beyond drawing plans to overseeing construction, selecting materials, and making decisions about details as work progressed. The relationship between architect and client would continue through the 3-year construction period.
Chapter 4. Breaking Ground. The Site and Early Construction.
The Ochre Point site presented both advantages and challenges. The 8-acre property occupied elevated ground overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. The elevation provided natural drainage and commanding views. The ocean frontage stretched approximately 200 feet along the rocky coastline. The position placed the property among Newport's most desirable addresses, with neighbors including major Vanderbilt estates and other prominent families. Site preparation began in spring of 1888. Workers cleared existing vegetation, graded the land to create level building platforms and access roads, and began excavation for the foundation. The grading work required moving substantial quantities of earth to create the proper relationship between house, outbuildings, and grounds. Horse-drawn scrapers and manual labor moved the soil, working through the summer and fall. Foundation excavation reached depths of approximately 12 feet below grade. Workers removed soil and loose material until they reached solid bedrock or stable ground capable of supporting the massive structure. The foundation walls would rise from this depth, providing stability and creating a full basement level for service functions. The excavation proceeded carefully, with workers shoring the sides to prevent collapse and removing water that seeped into the pit. The foundation used granite quarried from Rhode Island sources. Granite provided strength and durability superior to softer stones. Masons laid large granite blocks in courses, using lime mortar to bond them together. The foundation walls measured 4 feet thick at the base, thickness, tapering to 3 feet at ground level. This thickness provided both structural capacity and thermal mass to moderate temperature in basement spaces. Construction of the foundation occupied much of 1888 and early 1889. The work proceeded systematically, with masons working in sections to build the walls to ground level. The foundation plan followed Hunt's design precisely, creating the footprint for the rooms above. Interior foundation walls divided the basement into spaces for heating equipment, storage, servants' work areas, and utilities. The foundation work was critical. Poor execution would compromise everything built above. Indiana limestone arrived at Newport by rail and ship beginning in late 1888. The limestone came from quarries near Bedford, Indiana, a region known for high-quality building stone. The stone's characteristics included consistent color, relatively easy cutting, and durability adequate for exterior use. The blocks arrived rough-cut at the quarry, but required final shaping on site to fit specific locations in the walls. A steel frame provided the building's primary structure, a relatively modern technique for the 1880s. Steel framing allowed larger interior spaces without load-bearing walls, provided fire resistance superior to all wood construction, and accelerated the building process. Steel beams manufactured in Pennsylvania traveled to Newport and were erected on the completed foundation. The steel created the skeleton on which masonry walls and interior finishes would be attached. The construction crew included local laborers, specialized craftsmen, and workers imported for specific trades. Masons skilled in limestone work came from New York and other cities where such expertise existed. Stonecutters who shaped the blocks to precise dimensions worked on site, using templates provided by Hunt's office to ensure proper fit. Carpenters built forms and scaffolding. Laborers moved materials, mixed mortar, and performed general construction tasks. The workforce varied with construction phases, but typically numbered 50 to 75 workers. Hunt maintained an on-site superintendent who oversaw daily operations and ensured work matched the architect's specifications. The superintendent coordinated deliveries, managed workers, solved construction problems, and communicated with Hunt's New York office. Hunt himself visited periodically to inspect progress and approve critical work. This supervision ensured quality control and adherence to the design. Weather affected the construction schedule significantly. Newport's winters brought cold temperatures, snow, and coastal storms that halted outdoor work. The 1888 through 1889 winter slowed progress on the foundation and early structural work. Summers allowed intensive construction activity, but brought different challenges, including heat that affected mortar curing and worker comfort. The construction timeline accounted for these seasonal variations. By summer of 1889, the steel frame was rising, and limestone walls were beginning to take shape. The building's form became visible, revealing the château silhouette Hunt had designed. The projecting pavilions, the steep roof lines, and the elaborate window arrangements emerged as the walls rose. Visitors to the site could begin to understand the scale and character of what the Goelets were creating. The initial construction budget estimated $450,000. This figure covered basic construction, but did not include interior finishing, furnishings, or landscape work. As construction progressed, the costs would increase substantially. The Goelets' resources made cost overruns manageable, but the escalation reflected the mansion's increasing elaboration, as decisions favored quality and impressiveness over economy.
Chapter 5. Building the Château. Stone, steel, and European craft.
The limestone exterior walls rose through 1889 and 1890. Each stone block required individual attention. At the construction site, stonecutters worked from templates showing the precise shape each block needed to match its position in the wall. The cutters used hand tools, chisels, hammers, and saws to shape the Indiana limestone. The stone was relatively soft when freshly quarried, but hardened with exposure to air, making fresh stone easier to work than weathered material. The facade design required elaborate carving. Window surrounds featured decorative moldings. Cornices displayed classical details. Door frames incorporated carved ornament. Some blocks required weeks of skilled labor to complete the carving. The most elaborate work went to specialists who carved decorative elements separately before they were installed in the walls. This carving occurred in workshops where conditions allowed precision work and protection of completed carvings during installation. Masons positioned the finished blocks using cranes and hoisting equipment. The blocks varied in size depending on their location. Larger blocks formed base courses and structural elements. Smaller, more elaborate pieces created decorative features and complex window arrangements. Each block fit tightly against its neighbors, within mortar joints between them. The tight joints required precise cutting and careful positioning. Masons used levels, plumb lines, and measuring tools constantly to ensure walls rose straight and true. The steel frame determined the building's structural strength. The frame consisted of vertical columns spaced approximately 15 feet apart and horizontal beams spanning between columns. The steel carried the building's weight, allowing the limestone walls to serve as weather protection rather than structure. This system was relatively advanced for the 1880s. Most buildings still used load-bearing masonry walls. The steel frame allowed Ochre Court's large windows and open interior spaces. Fireproofing the steel required protecting it from heat that would weaken the metal in a fire. Workers enclosed steel members in brick or tile fireproofing material. This added weight and bulk, but provided essential fire protection. The fireproofing decision reflected lessons learned from devastating fires in earlier buildings, where exposed metal structures collapsed when heated. Ochre Court's fireproof construction made it safer than many contemporary structures. The roof structure combined traditional and modern techniques. Steel trusses carried the primary loads, but wooden rafters and sheathing created the actual roof surface. The steep roof slope required complex carpentry. Multiple roof planes intersected at different angles. Dormers projected from the main roof surfaces. Decorative elements, including finials, cresting, and elaborate chimney caps, added visual complexity. The roof framing proceeded carefully to ensure all elements fit properly and created watertight assemblies. Slate for the roof came from quarries in France. The decision to import slate rather than use domestic material reflected desire for authenticity. French châteaux used slate from French quarries. Ochre Court would match that precedent. The slate arrived in crates, each piece individually selected for color and quality. Slate installers, called slaters, worked from scaffolding to attach each piece to the wooden roof sheathing using copper nails. The installation proceeded from eaves to ridge, with each course overlapping the one below to shed water. The slate installation required the entire summer of 1890. The roof area measured approximately 15,000 square feet across all its planes and surfaces. Each slate piece measured roughly 10 inches by 16 inches. Installing the entire roof required thousands of individual pieces, each cut to fit its specific location and nailed in place by hand. The slaters worked carefully. A roof that leaked would damage the elaborate interiors below. The slate roof, properly installed, would last over a century with minimal maintenance. Window installation proceeded as exterior walls neared completion. Hunt designed tall windows for the principal rooms, providing light and views. The windows used wooden frames with multiple panes of glass. The sash, the movable portion of each window, was carefully balanced with weights and pulleys, so windows opened smoothly despite their size and the weight of the glass. Installing and adjusting the window mechanisms required skilled carpenters who specialized in this work. Exterior door installation completed the weather envelope. The main entrance featured elaborate carved wooden doors under a stone portico. Service entrances used simpler doors, but still required proper fit and hardware. All exterior doors received multiple coats of paint for weather protection. The paint selection considered both durability and appearance. The limestone walls would remain their natural color, but wooden elements required paint to prevent deterioration. By late 1890, the exterior was largely complete. The limestone walls stood finished. The slate roof was in place. Windows and doors were installed. The building was weatherproof. Interior work could proceed regardless of season. The exterior construction had taken approximately 2 years from the start of foundation work. The chateau Hunt designed was now visible in 3 dimensions, its silhouette commanding the clifftop site. Contemporary observers noted the building's scale and architectural character. Newspaper accounts described the mansion under construction, estimating its size and commenting on the elaborate design. The building clearly ranked among Newport's most ambitious projects, comparable to the largest Vanderbilt houses. The exterior work alone represented extraordinary expenditure and effort. The interior finishing that followed would require equal resources and even more specialized craftsmanship.
Chapter 6. The Great Hall. Creating palatial interiors.
The Great Hall occupied the center of Ochre Court's main floor. The space measured 40 feet wide by 60 feet long, with a ceiling height reaching 45 feet at its peak. This volume created the mansion's most dramatic interior space, designed to impress visitors immediately upon entry and to serve as the circulation hub connecting all principal rooms. The hall's scale exceeded typical residential spaces, approaching the proportions of a church or public building. The grand staircase dominated the hall. The staircase rose from the main floor to the second level in a broad, ceremonial ascent. The design featured twin flights rising to a landing, then continuing in a single central flight to the upper level. This arrangement created visual drama and allowed the staircase itself to become an architectural feature rather than merely functional circulation. The staircase width accommodated multiple people ascending or descending simultaneously, important for formal occasions when guests moved between floors. The staircase construction used quarter-sawn oak, a premium wood species selected for its strength, grain pattern, and ability to hold detailed carving. Quarter sawing produced boards with vertical grain that resisted warping and provided attractive figure. The oak came from American forests, milled to dimension, and shipped to Newport. Carvers worked both in off-site workshops and on location, creating the elaborate balusters, newel posts, and decorative panels that enriched the staircase. The carved details included Gothic and Renaissance motifs characteristic of French château interiors. Newel posts featured elaborate finials. Balusters displayed twisted forms and carved decoration. The handrail curved smoothly along its length, shaped and sanded to provide comfortable grip. Installing the staircase required precision. Each element had to fit properly, and the entire assembly had to be structurally sound. Carpenters assembled the staircase in place, fitting each piece carefully and securing it with hidden joinery and fasteners. The Great Hall ceiling design incorporated elaborate plasterwork. The ceiling was not flat but coffered, divided into recessed panels separated by beams and moldings. The coffers reduced the ceiling's visual weight and created architectural interest. Decorative plaster rosettes occupied the center of each coffer. Carved plaster moldings ran along the beams. The plasterwork required skilled craftsmen who built up the forms using successive layers of plaster, carving details while the material remained workable. A musician's gallery occupied one end of the Great Hall at the second floor level. The gallery projected into the hall space, creating a balcony where musicians could perform during entertainments. The gallery design included a carved wooden balustrade matching the staircase details. The gallery's position allowed music to fill the hall without musicians being at floor level where they might interfere with guests. The acoustic properties of the hall's volume and hard surfaces projected sound effectively throughout the space. The fireplace anchored one side of the Great Hall. The fireplace was monumental in scale, with an opening approximately 8 feet wide and 6 feet high. The surround used carved limestone imported from France. The carving included coats of arms, decorative scrollwork, and architectural moldings. The mantel shelf stood 7 feet above the floor, wide enough to display large objects. The fireplace was functional, designed to burn wood and provide heat as well as visual focal point. The chimney rose through the building to a decorative cap visible on the exterior. Lighting the Great Hall required multiple systems. Daylight entered through tall windows on the exterior walls. The windows reached from near floor level to near the ceiling on the main floor, providing abundant natural light during daytime. For evening use, gas chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The chandeliers featured multiple arms with gas burners that could be lit individually. The gas system included piping concealed in walls and ceiling spaces, delivering gas from a central supply. Later installation of electricity would supplement and eventually replace gas lighting, but the original 1891 installation used gas as primary artificial lighting. The floor used patterned hardwood, likely oak or similar durable species. The pattern created visual interest through contrasting wood colors or grain orientations. The floor received multiple finishing coats to create a hard, smooth surface. Area rugs could be placed for comfort and decoration, but the wood floor remained visible around the perimeter and in high traffic areas. Maintaining the floor required regular cleaning and periodic refinishing to preserve appearance. The Great Hall's function combined circulation and entertainment. Guests entering the mansion passed through the hall, which provided access to the drawing room, dining room, and other main floor spaces. During receptions and balls, the hall accommodated guests who gathered between dances or conversations in other rooms. The space could hold approximately 200 people comfortably, though larger crowds could be accommodated when necessary. The volume and openness prevented the space from feeling cramped, even with substantial numbers of guests. The hall represented the mansion's most significant interior achievement. The scale, the craftsmanship, the materials, and the architectural design combined to create a space that matched the exterior's chateau character. Visitors ascending the front steps and entering through the main doors encountered a space that immediately conveyed wealth, taste, and architectural ambition. The Great Hall established expectations for the rest of the house and served as the memorable centerpiece of Ochre Court's interior.
Chapter 7. Rooms of State, the Formal Spaces.
The drawing room occupied the southeast corner of the main floor, positioned to receive afternoon light and to offer ocean views. The room measured approximately 30 feet by 40 feet, creating generous space for receiving guests and conducting social occasions. The drawing room served as the primary space for female social activities and less formal entertainment. The decoration followed French Louis XV style, characterized by curved forms, elaborate gilding, and light color palettes. The walls received painted wood paneling installed over plaster. The paneling included raised panels, carved moldings, and gilded details that caught and reflected light. The paint colors were pale, typically cream or light blue, creating a bright atmosphere. The paneling was fabricated in workshops, delivered to the site, and installed by skilled carpenters. Proper installation required precise fitting of panels and moldings to create seamless appearance. Gaps or misalignments would reveal poor craftsmanship. The ceiling incorporated plaster decoration in the French style. Plaster moldings formed elaborate patterns. A central medallion marked the location for a chandelier. Corner decorations provided visual interest where ceiling met walls. The plasterwork was executed by specialists who shaped the wet plaster using templates and hand tools. Some decorative elements were cast separately and applied to the ceiling. Multiple coats of paint finished the plasterwork, with gilding applied to selected details. The dining room occupied the opposite corner of the main floor. The space measured approximately 40 feet by 30 feet, accommodating a table that could seat 32 guests when fully extended. The dining room required more formal decoration than the drawing room, befitting its use for official entertainment. Dark wood paneling, likely oak or walnut, covered the walls. The wood was carved with Renaissance-inspired motifs and finished with oil that enhanced the grain and provided rich color. A sideboard built into the wall paneling provided storage for dining implements and display space for silver. The sideboard stretched approximately 12 feet along one wall, featuring multiple drawers and cabinets below a counter surface. Above the counter, open shelving allowed display of decorative pieces. The sideboard construction matched the room's paneling in material and finish. The built-in approach created unified appearance and saved floor space compared to freestanding furniture. The dining room ceiling used exposed beams in the style called coffered or beamed ceiling. The beams, actually decorative rather than structural, were dark stained wood matching the wall paneling. The spaces between beams, called coffers, received painted plaster decoration. The contrast between dark beams and light coffers created visual interest overhead. The ceiling design suggested medieval great halls while incorporating Renaissance decorative elements. The library served as masculine retreat, decorated in darker colors and heavier materials than the drawing room. The walls featured floor-to-ceiling bookcases built from dark wood. The bookcases included glass-fronted cabinets protecting valuable books from dust and damage. Solid wood doors on lower cabinets provided storage for papers and objects. The bookcase design incorporated classical architectural elements, including pilasters, cornices, and pediments, scaled to create architectural presence. The library fireplace featured elaborate carving and incorporated seating areas on either side. These inglenook seats provided intimate spaces for reading or conversation near the fire's warmth. The fireplace surround used carved wood or stone, depending on the specific design Hunt selected. The mantel shelf displayed objects and provided architectural emphasis. The fireplace was fully functional, burning wood to heat the space and create the atmosphere appropriate to a library. Morning rooms and sitting rooms on the main floor provided additional spaces for family use and small gatherings. These rooms received less elaborate finishing than the primary state rooms, but still featured quality materials and craftsmanship. The rooms included decorative fireplaces, appropriate window treatments, and paint or wallpaper finishes suited to their purposes. The variety of spaces allowed the family to select appropriate settings for different activities and different levels of formality. Bedroom suites occupied the second floor. The principal bedroom suite, presumably for Ogden and May Goelet, included a bedroom, sitting room, and private bath. Additional bedroom suites accommodated family members and important guests. The bedrooms featured fireplaces for heating, built-in closets for storage, and decorative finishes appropriate to private rather than public spaces. The decoration was generally simpler than the main floor staterooms, but still utilized quality materials and skilled craftsmanship. Service spaces filled the basement and portions of the attic level. The basement included the kitchen, extensive pantries, storage rooms, servants' dining hall, and rooms for mechanical equipment. The kitchen featured commercial-scale cooking equipment, including multiple stoves, preparation tables, and storage for food and implements. The pantries provided space for organizing and storing dishes, glassware, silver, and linens. Butler's pantries connected the basement kitchen to the main floor dining room, allowing servants to move food and dishes between levels. Servants' bedrooms occupied attic spaces under the steep roof. These rooms were smaller and more simply finished than family quarters. Male and female servants occupied separate areas. The rooms provided basic accommodation for the extensive staff required to operate the mansion. Some senior servants received better quarters, reflecting their status in the household hierarchy. The vertical separation between service spaces, family quarters, and public rooms maintained social distinctions and allowed efficient household operation. Technological systems included steam heat distributed through cast iron radiators in each room. The heating system used a coal-fired boiler in the basement, generating steam that circulated through pipes to radiators throughout throughout the building. The system provided more even heating than fireplaces alone, and reduced the labor of tending multiple fires. Indoor plumbing delivered running water to bathrooms and the kitchen. The plumbing system required extensive piping concealed in walls and floor spaces. Water came from municipal supply or wells on the property and was stored in tanks that provided pressure for distribution. The rooms at Ochre Court reflected Gilded Age expectations for luxury and comfort. Each space was designed for specific purposes with appropriate decoration and amenities. The quality of materials and craftsmanship throughout the house maintained consistent standards. The result was a residence that functioned as both comfortable family home and impressive stage for social entertainment.
Chapter 8. The grounds and completion. Gardens and finishing touches.
The landscape design for Ochre Court created the appropriate setting for Hunt's Chateau. The 8-acre site required careful planning to balance formal gardens near the house with natural areas toward the property edges. The design emphasized the mansion's commanding position on the clifftop while creating usable outdoor spaces for family enjoyment and entertainment. The grounds treatment combined European formal garden traditions with adaptation to the coastal New England site. Formal gardens extended approximately 120 feet from the south facade, the side facing away from the ocean. The gardens featured geometric patterns typical of French formal design. Gravel paths divided planting beds arranged in symmetrical layouts. Low hedges, likely boxwood, outlined the beds and paths. Seasonal flowers provided color within the structured framework. The formal gardens were designed to be viewed from the main floor windows and to provide pleasant walking areas for family and guests. The ocean-facing side of the property remained more natural, though carefully managed. The clifftop position provided dramatic views but limited possibilities for formal gardens due to salt spray and wind exposure. Lawn areas extended toward the cliff edge, maintained by gardening staff who mowed and tended the grass. The lawn provided open space for outdoor activities and maintained clear views to the ocean. Trees were selectively placed to frame views without obstructing them. A carriage house and stable complex stood separate from the main house, likely to the north or west, to keep service functions away from principal views. The carriage house provided covered storage for carriages and wagons. The stables housed horses used for transportation and recreation. Additional rooms accommodated coachmen and stable staff. The building design matched the main house's architectural character at reduced scale. The materials, the steep roof, and the general design approach created visual harmony between buildings. Grounds maintenance required extensive staff. Gardeners tended the formal gardens, maintaining plant health, controlling weeds, and ensuring seasonal displays. Groundskeepers mowed lawns, raked paths, and performed general maintenance. Specialized staff tended the estate's trees and shrubs. The seasonal nature of Newport occupancy meant the grounds had to be maintained year-round to ensure proper condition when the family arrived in June. A head gardener supervised the grounds staff and planned the plantings and maintenance schedules. Construction concluded in June of 1891. The 3-year construction period from site preparation to completion was relatively rapid for a project of this scale. The timeline reflected adequate funding, competent management, and favorable conditions that allowed work to proceed steadily. Hunt's supervision ensured construction matched his design intentions. The Goelets received a completed mansion ready for occupancy in time for the 1891 summer season. The final accounting recorded total expenditures of approximately $1,400,000. This figure included construction costs, interior finishing, furnishings, and landscape work. The amount exceeded initial estimates substantially, but was not unusual for Gilded Age mansion projects where quality and impressiveness took priority over budget constraints. The Goelets' resources made the cost manageable. The investment created one of Newport's most impressive estates. Contemporary newspaper accounts documented Ochre Court's completion. The Newport Daily News and other regional papers described the mansion's scale and features. The articles noted the chateau architecture, the elaborate interiors, and the commanding site. The coverage treated the mansion's completion as significant news, reflecting both the building's architectural importance and the social prominence of the Goelet family. The articles contributed to the mansion's reputation and established its place among Newport's notable estates. Architectural publications also took notice. Hunt's reputation and the mansion's architectural quality merited attention in professional journals. Photographs and drawings documented the completed building, providing records of its original appearance. These publications helped establish Ochre Court as an important example of Gilded Age architecture and contributed to Hunt's reputation as America's premier chateau architect. The completed Ochre Court stood as one of Hunt's finest domestic works. The design successfully adapted French chateau chateau architecture to an American coastal site. The scale was impressive without being overwhelming. The details demonstrated skilled craftsmanship throughout. The building functioned effectively for its intended purposes while achieving architectural distinction. Hunt's vision, executed over 3 years by numerous craftsmen and workers, had created a mansion worthy of its prominent site and wealthy owners. Ochre Court took its place among Newport's great houses. The mansion ranked with the Breakers, Marble House, and Rosecliff as examples of Gilded Age ambition and achievement. The concentration of such elaborate houses in Newport created a unique architectural landscape. Ochre Court contributed to this landscape as both individual achievement and part of the larger phenomenon of Gilded Age summer colony development. The building was complete and ready for the life its owners would create within its walls.
Chapter 9. Summer at Ochre Court. The Goelet family in residence.
The Newport summer season began in mid-June and extended through early September. The Goelet family traveled from their Fifth Avenue residence in New York to Ochre Court each year, bringing personal belongings, clothing for the season, and a portion of their household staff. The journey took half a day by train to Providence and then to Newport. Additional staff traveled separately with luggage, trunks, and household items needed for the summer months. The seasonal migration was logistically complex but followed established patterns. The household employed approximately 42 staff members during the summer season. The staff included a butler who managed the household operations, a housekeeper who supervised female servants, cooks who prepared meals, kitchen staff who assisted with food preparation and cleaning, parlor maids who maintained the public rooms, chambermaids who cleaned bedrooms and private spaces, laundresses who handled linens and clothing, and footmen who served meals and attended family members. Additional outdoor staff included coachmen, stable workers, and gardeners who maintained the grounds. The staff maintained rigid hierarchies, reflecting their positions and responsibilities. The butler held the highest male position, reporting directly to Ogden Goelet. The housekeeper held equivalent position among female staff, working under May Goelet's direction. Senior servants received better accommodations, higher wages, and more respect than junior staff. The system mirrored broader social hierarchies, creating complex relationships within the household based on position rather than just employer and employee. Daily routines followed patterns common among wealthy families. Breakfast was informal, with family members eating at their convenience. The morning hours included correspondence, social calls on nearby families, or recreational activities. Lunch assembled the family formally. Afternoon activities varied but often included carriage drives, sailing, tennis, or other outdoor pursuits. Tea occurred in late afternoon. Dinner was the day's most formal meal, requiring formal dress and often including guests. Evening entertainment might include conversation, cards, or occasionally larger social events. Entertaining ranged from small dinner parties to large receptions and balls. Dinner parties typically included 16 to 24 guests, the number constrained by dining room capacity. The dinners followed elaborate protocols for seating arrangements, courses, and timing. Multiple courses required extensive kitchen staff and precise coordination between kitchen and dining room. Footmen served each course, removed dishes, and attended to guests' needs under the butler's supervision. Larger events utilized the Great Hall and multiple rooms. Receptions might include 100 to 200 guests who circulated through the main floor spaces. The Great Hall accommodated general gathering, while the drawing room, library, and other rooms provided spaces for conversation and smaller groupings. Musical entertainment in the Great Hall utilized the musicians' gallery. Refreshments were served from the dining room or set up in multiple locations throughout the house. May Goelet held particular responsibility for the social calendar and household management. As mistress of the house, she determined which invitations to accept, whom to invite to Ochre Court, and how entertainments would be organized. Her social position and the mansion's impressiveness made Ochre Court invitations desirable. Successfully managing the household and social obligations required constant attention and coordination with staff. The role was demanding despite the extensive staff assistance. The Goelet children, Robert and Mary, participated in the summer season according to their ages and the family's wishes. The children had their own routines, including lessons, recreation, and graduated participation in social events. As they matured, their involvement in formal entertaining increased. The summer at Newport provided opportunities for the children to interact with other wealthy families' children, forming social connections that would continue into adulthood. The seasonal nature of occupancy meant Ochre Court sat essentially empty from September through May. A minimal caretaker staff remained year-round to maintain the property, prevent damage from weather or neglect, and ensure the house was ready when the family returned in June. The caretakers performed basic maintenance, monitored heating systems during winter, and addressed any problems that arose. The transition from full operation to minimal occupancy occupancy and back required careful planning and execution. The costs of operating Ochre Court during the summer season exceeded $50,000 annually. The expenses included staff wages, food and supplies, grounds maintenance, utilities, and general upkeep. These operating costs were separate from the original construction expense and represented ongoing financial commitment. The Goelet's income from real estate holdings made these costs manageable, but the amount indicated the substantial resources required to maintain Gilded Age lifestyle. The summer at Ochre Court represented the mansion's purpose. The building existed to provide comfortable summer residence and to serve as stage for social entertainment. The elaborate architecture, the expensive furnishings, the extensive grounds all supported these functions. The Goelets occupied the house for approximately 3 months yearly, but those months justified the year-round maintenance and the original $1 million investment. The mansion fulfilled its intended role as summer palace for one of New York's wealthy families. The period from 1891 through approximately 1916 represented Ochre Court's golden era as Goelet family residence. During these years, the mansion operated as designed. The family enjoyed some seasons at Newport, participated in the social colony, and maintained the property to high standards. The routine established patterns that seemed sustainable indefinitely, but circumstances beyond the family's control would eventually end this era and transform Ochre Court's purpose entirely.
Chapter 10. The End of an Era. Changing Times and Declining Use.
Ogden Goelet died on August 27, 1897, only 6 years after Ochre Court's completion. He was 49 years old. His death occurred at Ochre Court during the summer season. The cause was reported as kidney disease. His death created immediate complications for the family's social position and for management of the substantial real estate holdings that generated family wealth. May Goelet became widow with 2 children and responsibility for managing complex financial affairs. The Goelet estate required settlement and division according to Ogden's will. The real estate holdings included properties throughout Manhattan, generating annual rental income. The estate's value exceeded $20 million, making Ogden one of New York's wealthiest men at his death. The will provided for May and the children, but managing the property required competent trustees and careful attention. The complexity of the holdings and the legal processes involved delayed final settlement for several years. May Goelet continued occupying Ochre Court for summer seasons after Ogden's death. The mansion remained family property and provided summer residence for May and the children. The social calendar continued, though May's entertaining was reduced from the earlier period when Ogden was alive. Widowhood changed May's social position and expectations. She maintained appropriate presence in Newport society, but the elaborate entertainments of the early 1890s occurred less frequently. Robert Wilson Goelet, the son, inherited portions of the family real estate holdings. When he reached majority, Robert showed less interest in maintaining the extensive lifestyle his parents had established. His interests included yachting and travel rather than Newport social competition. As Robert matured and assumed control of his inheritance, his priorities differed from the previous generation's emphasis on social display and seasonal mansion living. The broader social landscape was changing through the early 1900s. The Gilded Age's most extravagant period was passing. The ostentatious display that characterized the 1880s and 90s seemed excessive to newer sensibilities. Progressive era reforms criticized concentrated wealth and elaborate private spending, while social problems remained unaddressed. The mansions that had seemed appropriate symbols of success began to appear as embarrassing excess. The Revenue Act of 1913 established federal income tax. The tax initially affected only the wealthiest Americans, but the rates increased substantially during World War I to fund war expenses. Families like the Goelets faced new financial obligations that reduced the resources available for maintaining expensive properties. The income from real estate holdings now faced federal taxation before it reached family hands. The reduction in available income made the cost of operating large estates more burdensome. World War I further accelerated social change. The war years from 1914 to 1918 disrupted normal patterns. Many wealthy families reduced their social activities during the war. Staff members left domestic service for war work or military service, creating labor shortages that made operating large houses more difficult. The war's end in 1918 did not restore pre-war conditions. Social attitudes had shifted, and economic conditions had changed. The annual operating costs of Ochre Court remained substantial, while the mansion's use decreased. Maintaining the building, grounds, and minimal staff year-round cost tens of thousands of dollars annually. The family occupied the house for progressively shorter periods as the 1910s and 20s progressed. The economic calculation became increasingly unfavorable. The resources devoted to maintaining a summer house used only briefly could be deployed elsewhere or simply saved. decade. Newport itself was changing. The concentration of great houses along Bellevue Avenue and Ochre Point remained, but the social calendar that had animated the summer colony was diminishing. Some families stopped coming to Newport entirely. Other families reduced their stays or entertained less elaborately. The younger generation showed less interest in the formal social rituals their parents had followed. The summer colony continued, but with reduced vitality and purpose. The practical challenges of maintaining Ochre Court grew through the 1920s and 30s. The building required ongoing maintenance. The roof needed repairs. The limestone exterior required cleaning and repair where weathering had caused damage. The mechanical systems required updating as technology advanced. The grounds needed constant attention. Each maintenance project required expenditure. Deferred maintenance would lead to deterioration and larger eventual costs, but current spending seemed difficult to justify for a house barely used. Goelet died in 1929. Her death removed the person most connected to Ochre Court's creation and most committed to maintaining family presence in Newport. Robert Goelet inherited full control of family properties, including Ochre Court. Robert faced the decision of what to do with the mansion. Continuing to maintain it for occasional use seemed economically questionable. Finding an alternative use or selling the property became realistic options rather than unthinkable departures from family tradition. The Great Depression beginning in 1929 created additional economic pressure. While the Goelets remained wealthy, the Depression reduced income from real estate as tenants faced economic difficulties and vacancies increased. The Depression also reduced the pool of potential buyers for expensive properties. Selling Ochre Court would be difficult during Depression years. The mansion sat increasingly unused through the 1930s, while Robert considered options and economic conditions limited possibilities. By the early 1940s, Ochre Court had been Goelet property for over 50 years, but had been actively used as summer residence for less than half that time. The mansion represented an earlier era's values and lifestyle. The building was architecturally significant and well constructed, but its original purpose no longer matched the family's needs or priorities. The question was whether any alternative use could preserve the building while relieving the family of ongoing maintenance burden.
Chapter 11. Sale and Transformation from Palace to School.
The Sisters of Mercy, a Catholic religious order founded in Ireland in 1831, had established presence in the United States during the mid-19th century. The order focused on education and social services, operating schools and charitable institutions in multiple American cities. By the 1940s, the Sisters of Mercy in Newport sought to expand their educational mission by founding a college for women. The order needed facilities for the new institution, but lacked funds to construct purpose-built campus buildings. Salve Regina College was established in 1947 by the Sisters of Mercy as a Catholic liberal arts college for women. The founding reflected broader trends in American higher education, including expansion of Catholic colleges and increasing opportunities for women's education. The college needed classroom spaces, dormitories, dining facilities, administrative offices, and other standard campus requirements. The challenge was finding or creating these facilities with limited financial resources. The opportunity to acquire Ochre Court emerged through negotiations between the Sisters of Mercy and the Goelet family. Robert Goelet was willing to sell the property at a price substantially below its construction cost or theoretical market value. The reduced price reflected the practical reality that few buyers existed for a 50-room mansion designed for Gilded Age summer entertaining. The property's limited alternative uses and high maintenance costs made it difficult to sell at any price. Selling to an institution for educational use provided an acceptable solution. The sale concluded in 1947. The purchase price was reportedly $99,000, less than 1/10 of the original construction cost. The dramatic reduction reflected changed circumstances and values. What had cost $1,400,000 to build 56 years earlier transferred for a small fraction of that amount. The Goelet family divested a property that had become a burden. The Sisters of Mercy acquired a substantial building suitable for their educational purposes at a price they could manage. The conversion from private residence to college facility required extensive modifications. The Great Hall could serve as ceremonial space and for gatherings, but needed minimal alteration. The state rooms on the main floor converted to administrative offices, meeting rooms, and some classroom space. The second floor bedrooms required conversion to dormitory rooms, offices, and additional classrooms. The modifications had to respect the building's architecture while adapting spaces to educational purposes. Some architectural elements were preserved carefully. The Great Hall's staircase, the cuisines, the carved woodwork, the decorative plasterwork all remained. These elements gave the building character and architectural distinction that benefited the college. Other areas received more extensive alteration. Bathrooms were added or upgraded to meet institutional requirements. Classrooms needed proper lighting, heating, and furniture different from residential uses. The conversion balanced preservation of significant architectural features with functional requirements for education. The basement level adapted to institutional uses, including food service, mechanical equipment, and storage. The original service spaces transitioned relatively easily to similar institutional purposes. The scale of the rooms and the existing infrastructure made adaptation straightforward. Additional bathrooms and modern mechanical systems required new plumbing and equipment, but the basic spaces worked for their new purposes. The grounds transitioned from private estate to college campus. The formal gardens required less elaborate maintenance than during the Goelet era. The lawns and trees remained, but groundskeeping focused on basic maintenance rather than showcase display. As the college grew, additional buildings appeared on the property, creating a small campus centered on Ochre Court. The mansion became the college's signature building and primary identifier. The adaptive reuse succeeded because the building's quality made it worth preserving, and because institutional ownership provided ongoing use, justifying maintenance costs. A private owner would struggle to justify the expense of maintaining a 50-room mansion. An educational institution needed the space and could allocate resources to maintenance as part of normal operating expenses. The conversion model worked economically in ways that continued private ownership could not. Other Newport mansions faced different fates. Some remained in family hands, but with reduced use. Others sold to buyers who struggled with maintenance costs and eventually deteriorated. Several were demolished when no viable use could be found, and maintenance costs exceeded any conceivable return. The Breakers was preserved through family donation to the Preservation Society of Newport County. Marble House similarly transferred to Preservation Organization ownership. Ochre Court's conversion to institutional use represented one successful preservation model among several approaches to saving Gilded Age architecture. The transformation from palace to school fundamentally changed Ochre Court's character. The building no longer served as symbol of private wealth and social competition. Instead, it became symbol of educational access and religious commitment to service. The architectural spaces designed for entertaining and family comfort now held classes, offices, and student activities. The building's meaning shifted entirely, while the physical structure remained largely intact. Salve Regina College grew from its founding through subsequent decades. The institution added programs, increased enrollment, and expanded physically. Ochre Court remained the central building, housing key administrative functions and maintaining symbolic importance as the college's most distinctive architectural feature. The building that began as summer retreat for one family now served educational mission affecting hundreds of students annually. The economic model of institutional ownership proved sustainable. The college allocated resources to maintain Ochre Court as part of broader campus operations. While maintenance was expensive, the cost spread across the institution's budget and served the mission of providing quality educational environment. The building required ongoing attention, but the investment was justified by its central role in the college's identity and operations.
Chapter 12. Salve Regina University, Adaptive Reuse and Practice.
Salve Regina College achieved university status in 1991, reflecting growth in programs, enrollment, and academic scope. The name change to Salve Regina University marked the institution's development from small women's college to comprehensive university, offering undergraduate and graduate programs to both women and men. Through all these changes, Ochre Court remained the physical and symbolic center of campus, the building most associated with the university's identity. Ochre Court's primary function evolved into housing administrative offices. The president's office occupied prominent space in the mansion, utilizing one of the former drawing rooms. Other senior administrators occupied additional main floor offices in spaces originally designed for formal entertaining. The Great Hall served as reception area for visitors and venue for important university events. The combination of grand architectural setting and administrative function created distinctive character for university leadership spaces. The second floor accommodated additional offices and some specialized academic purposes. Departments and programs used the former bedroom spaces for faculty offices, small seminar rooms, and administrative support functions. The conversion from private bedrooms to office spaces required relatively modest alteration. Doors, windows, and basic room configurations remained largely unchanged. The modifications focused on adding appropriate furniture, technology infrastructure, and modern lighting while preserving architectural character. The Great Hall functioned as ceremonial space for university gatherings. convocations, special lectures, receptions for donors and distinguished visitors, and various official events utilized the hall's dramatic architecture. The space accommodated approximately 200 people for standing receptions or 150 for seated events. The grand staircase, the carved woodwork, and the overall architectural drama created memorable setting that distinguished Salve Regina events from those held in generic modern facilities. Student experience of Ochre Court varied with their programs and activities. Students attending classes in the building encountered château architecture as daily backdrop to their education. The contrast between historic architecture and contemporary education created unique atmosphere. Students working in offices housed in the building engaged with a historic structure routinely. The building became familiar through regular use while retaining its architectural distinction. Preservation challenges emerged continuously. The building's age and complexity required ongoing maintenance. The limestone exterior needed periodic cleaning and repair where weathering caused deterioration. The slate roof required attention when individual pieces broke or fasteners failed. The wooden windows needed paint and occasional repair or replacement of deteriorated components. Interior plasterwork required repairs where cracks developed or water damage occurred. Each maintenance project required funds and expertise. Building systems presented particular challenges. The original heating system required replacement with modern equipment. The electrical system needed upgrading to handle contemporary loads, including computers and modern lighting. The plumbing system required repairs and upgrades to meet current codes and usage patterns. Air conditioning was added to improve comfort during warm weather. Each system upgrade had to be accomplished while minimizing damage to historic fabric and maintaining architectural character. Accessibility became legal requirement and moral imperative. Historic buildings predated accessibility standards for people with disabilities. Ochre Court's multiple levels connected by stairs posed challenges. The university installed an elevator to provide access to upper floors, locating it carefully to minimize visual impact on historic spaces. Accessible bathrooms were created where space allowed. Ramps provided access to exterior doors, where steps previously limited entry. These modifications balanced legal compliance and functional need with preservation of architectural character. The economic model supporting Ochre Court's maintenance derived from the university's overall budget. The building's maintenance costs were substantial, likely exceeding $100,000 annually for routine upkeep, with larger expenditures required periodically for major projects. The university justified these costs through the building's central role in campus identity, its functional contribution as administrative center, and its value in recruitment and fundraising, where the distinctive architecture impressed prospective students and potential donors. The building generated revenue through its use for external events. Weddings and other private events could be held at Ochre Court when university schedule permitted. The fees charged for such events contributed to maintenance costs. The Great Hall's architectural drama made it an attractive venue for weddings and receptions. The revenue was modest compared to overall maintenance costs, but represented beneficial supplemental income. Contemporary facilities needs sometimes conflicted with historic preservation. Modern administrative work required technology infrastructure, including data networking, telecommunications, and electrical power capacity. Installing this infrastructure in a building designed before widespread electrification required careful planning and execution. Conduits and cables had to be concealed or routed unobtrusively. Modern office furniture and equipment had to fit appropriately in rooms designed for different purposes. The solutions required compromise between ideal modern functionality and respectful treatment of historic architecture. The building's role in university identity was significant. Marketing materials featured Ochre Court prominently. The château silhouette appeared in logos and publications. Prospective students touring campus received Ochre Court tours, emphasizing the university's distinctive architectural setting. Alumni maintained connections to the building as symbol of their educational experience. The building's iconic status justified maintenance investment beyond what pure functional analysis might support. The adaptive reuse of Ochre Court demonstrated successful preservation model. The building retained its architectural integrity while serving purposes different from its original design. The institutional ownership provided stable stewardship and ongoing resources for maintenance. The university's mission gave the building continuing purpose and relevance. The model preserved important architecture while acknowledging that preservation requires viable use, not just structural maintenance.
Chapter 13. Preservation and Restoration. Maintaining Gilded Age Grandeur.
Ochre Court received National Historic Landmark designation in 1971. The designation recognized the building's architectural significance as outstanding example of Richard Morris Hunt's work and as important representation of Gilded Age château-style architecture. The landmark status provided no direct funding but established formal recognition of the building's importance and encouraged preservation efforts. The designation also imposed procedural requirements for any alterations affecting the building's historic character. Major restoration projects occurred periodically when accumulated deterioration required comprehensive attention rather than routine maintenance. One significant restoration focused on the Great Hall during the 1980s. The project addressed plasterwork damage, woodwork refinishing, and general cleaning and repair of the space's architectural elements. The work required skilled craftsmen capable of matching original materials and techniques. Finding such expertise became increasingly challenging as traditional craft skills became less common in the construction industry. The limestone exterior required systematic attention through multiple restoration campaigns. Limestone deteriorates through several mechanisms, including freeze-thaw cycles, where water enters the stone and expands when freezing, chemical reactions between stone and atmospheric pollutants, and biological growth, including algae and lichens. The deterioration manifested as surface erosion, cracking, and discoloration. Treatment required cleaning to remove biological growth and pollutants, repairs to damaged areas using replacement stone or specialized mortars, and sometimes application of protective coatings. Selecting appropriate cleaning methods was critical. Aggressive cleaning could damage the limestone surface, while inadequate cleaning left harmful materials in place. The restoration team tested various cleaning approaches on inconspicuous areas before proceeding with full treatment. The cleaning typically used low-pressure water washing combined with mild chemicals where necessary. The process was labor-intensive, requiring workers on scaffolding to clean the entire limestone facade section by section. Stone replacement became necessary, where deterioration was too extensive for repair. Matching the original Indiana limestone required sourcing stone from the same geological formation. The replacement blocks needed similar color, texture, and physical properties to blend with original material. Stone cutters shaped the replacement blocks to match adjacent original stones. The new stones were installed using traditional methods, including proper bonding with mortar and secure anchoring to the building structure. The slate roof required ongoing maintenance and periodic comprehensive restoration. Individual slate pieces broke due to age, freeze-thaw damage, or impact. The copper nails holding slates deteriorated over decades. The repairs required workers experienced with slate roofing, a specialized trade. The workers removed damaged slates, repaired underlying roof structure if necessary, and installed replacement slates. Finding replacement slate matching the original French material was difficult. The restoration team sometimes used slate from other sources, carefully selected for color and quality. Interior woodwork restoration addressed deterioration from age, wear, and sometimes water damage when roof or plumbing leaks occurred. The oak staircase required refinishing periodically as foot traffic wore the finish, and exposed wood became soiled. Refinishing required removing old finish, sanding the wood carefully to avoid damaging carved details, and applying new finish matching the original appearance. The carved balusters and decorative elements required careful attention to preserve detail during refinishing process. Plaster restoration addressed cracks, water damage, and general deterioration. Plaster damage occurred from building settlement, water infiltration, and simply from age as plaster dried and became brittle. Repairs required removing damaged plaster, preparing the substrate, applying new plaster matching the original in composition and technique, and recreating decorative details where necessary. The most elaborate plaster work required artisans capable of hand carving or molding decorative elements to match original work. Funding preservation work came from multiple sources. The university allocated portions of its capital budget to Ochre Court maintenance and restoration. Major restoration projects sometimes received support from grants provided by preservation organizations or government programs supporting historic building restoration. Fundraising campaigns specifically for Ochre Court restoration engaged donors interested in architectural preservation. The combination of funding sources allowed projects to proceed that university operating budget alone could not support. Documentation became an important component of preservation work. Before restoration projects began, the team documented existing conditions through photographs, measured drawings, and written descriptions. The documentation recorded what existed before intervention, provided information guiding restoration decisions, and created historical record of the building's condition at specific times. The documentation accumulated over decades created valuable archive showing showing how the building changed and how various restoration efforts addressed problems. Modern building codes presented challenges for historic preservation. Current codes included requirements for fire safety, accessibility, structural strength, and other factors not considered when Ochre Court was built. Bringing the building fully into compliance with current codes would require modifications potentially damaging to historic character. The landmark designation and the building's age allowed some code exceptions where strict compliance would harm historic fabric. The solutions required negotiation between preservation values and safety requirements. The long-term preservation of Ochre Court depended on continued institutional commitment and adequate funding. The building required ongoing investment to prevent deterioration and to address problems as they emerged. The university's commitment to maintaining Ochre Court as campus centerpiece provided reasonable assurance of continued care. The building's significance in university identity made its preservation institutional priority, though funding would always require balancing against other university needs. Preservation represented ongoing responsibility rather than completed project. Each restoration effort addressed current problems, but new issues would emerge over time. The building would require attention as long as it stood. The preservation ethic recognized that historic buildings required continuous care to survive, and that each generation of stewards had responsibility to maintain the building for future generations.
Chapter 14. Opening Doors. Public Access and Educational Mission.
Ochre Court functions as working university building, but also welcomes public visitors through organized tours. The tour program provides community access to significant historic architecture while respecting the building's primary role in university operations. Tours operate on regular schedule during academic year and modified schedule during summer months. Visitors must arrange tours in advance, as the building is not open for casual drop-in visits. The scheduled approach allows the university to manage access while maintaining normal operations. The standard tour covers the Great Hall and selected other first-floor spaces. Guides provide historical information about the building's construction, the Goelet family, Richard Morris Hunt's architectural design, and the building's transformation to university use. The tour typically lasts approximately 1 hour. Group sizes are limited to ensure visitors can hear the guide and to minimize disruption to university operations. The tours are free or involve minimal fees covering administrative costs. Educational programming extends beyond basic tours. The university offers specialized programs examining Gilded Age architecture, Newport's social history, and preservation practices. These programs target audiences including architecture students, historians, preservation professionals, and community members interested in local history. The programs utilize Ochre Court as teaching tool, where architectural principles and historical context can be examined directly rather than just discussed abstractly. School groups visit Ochre Court as part of educational field trips. Elementary and secondary students learn about Newport's Gilded Age history, architectural styles, and how buildings reflect the societies that create them. The tours adapt to different age groups, emphasizing aspects most relevant and accessible to each audience. Young students might focus on the building's fairy tale appearance and the dramatic scale. Older students examine the social and economic conditions that produced Gilded Age mansions. Ochre Court serves comparative role in Newport's broader historic house tourism. The city hosts multiple preserved Gilded Age mansions open to public. The Breakers, operated by Preservation Society of Newport County, attracts hundreds of thousands of visitors annually. Marble House, Rosecliff, and other properties provide different examples of Gilded Age architecture and lifestyle. Ochre Court's continued use as working university building distinguishes it from these house museums where historic interpretation is primary purpose. The comparison reveals different preservation models. House museums like the Breakers maintain interiors appearing as they did historically, focusing on interpretation and visitor experience. Ochre Court maintains its architecture but functions as contemporary institution. Both approaches preserve important architecture but emphasize different aspects. House museums prioritize historical accuracy and public access. Institutional adaptive reuse prioritizes ongoing utility while maintaining architectural character. Both models contribute to preservation but serve different purposes. Weddings and special events at Ochre Court generate revenue supporting building maintenance while providing community access. The Great Hall's architectural drama attracts couples seeking distinctive wedding venues. The university manages event calendar to avoid conflicts with academic operations. Events typically occur during weekends or summer months when university activities are reduced. The events provide temporary public access to the building for participants and guests who might not otherwise visit. Academic research utilizes Ochre Court as primary source for studying multiple topics. Architectural historians examine Hunt's design design and construction techniques, social historians research Gilded Age social patterns and the families who built these mansions. Preservation professionals study the building as example of adaptive reuse and ongoing preservation challenges. The building's documentation, its physical evidence, and its history provide rich material for scholarly investigation. The building's role as teaching tool benefits Salve Regina students particularly. Students in relevant programs including history, art history, and cultural and historic preservation study the building directly. Architecture can be discussed abstractly in classrooms, but examining actual building allows students to understand how design principles manifest in 3 dimensions, how construction techniques create architectural effects, and how buildings deteriorate and require maintenance over time. Ochre Court provides laboratory for learning about historic architecture. Community connections extend beyond formal tours and programs. Local residents maintain interest in the mansion as part of Newport's heritage. Longtime residents remember when the building was private residence or recall its early years as college facility. The building appears in local histories, postcards, and popular consciousness as one of Newport's notable structures. The community relationship provides context for the university's stewardship, creating stakeholders beyond the institution itself who value the building's preservation. The balance between institutional use and public access requires ongoing management. The university must meet its primary educational mission while honoring responsibilities that accompany owning nationally significant historic buildings. Too much public access would disrupt university operations. Too little would deny public benefit from architecture built with private wealth but now owned by non-profit educational institutions. The current approach attempts reasonable middle ground, allowing some public access while maintaining functional university facility. Contemporary relevance extends beyond architectural appreciation. Ochre Court raises questions about wealth, inequality, appropriate use of resources, and social values that remain current. The building represents era when extraordinary wealth concentrated in few hands produced personal palaces. The parallels to contemporary wealth concentration provide basis for discussions about social values, economic systems, and appropriate uses of wealth. The building becomes prompt for examining these enduring questions.
Chapter 15. Legacy and Meaning. Ochre Court in American History.
Ochre Court represents significant achievement in American Gilded Age architecture. Richard Morris Hunt's design successfully adapted French château precedents to American circumstances and client needs. The building demonstrates skilled design composition, appropriate material selection, and successful integration of architecture with site. Among Hunt's extensive body of work, Ochre Court ranks as major example of his château style and his ability to create architecturally distinguished private residences. Hunt's influence on American architecture extended far beyond his own buildings. His training at the École des Beaux-Arts and his introduction of Beaux-Arts principles to American practice influenced architectural education and professional standards. Hunt helped establish American Institute of Architects and advocated for professional architectural education. His chateau-style houses, including Ochre Court, influenced other architects and popularized French precedents as models for American wealthy clients. The legacy shaped American architecture through multiple channels. The building reveals multiple aspects of Gilded Age society. The enormous cost of construction and operating expenses demonstrate the concentration of wealth in period when successful industrialists, financiers, and real estate holders accumulated fortunes exceeding most previous American experience. The seasonal use of expensive property solely for summer entertainment indicates priorities where social competition and display justified extraordinary expenditure. The elaborate architecture and imported materials show how American wealthy clients sought to match or exceed European aristocratic display. The Goelet family's place in American social history reflects broader patterns of how wealth was created and maintained through the 19th and early 20th centuries. The family fortune derived from patient real estate accumulation in Manhattan as the city grew. The strategy of acquiring property, holding it, and collecting rents as development increased values created substantial wealth without requiring industrial innovation or financial speculation. The approach represented one path to Gilded Age fortune among several possibilities. Newport's preservation as concentration of Gilded Age mansions creates unique American landscape. Few places maintain such density of elaborate historic houses from single era. The preservation occurred through combination of factors, including early establishment of Preservation Society of Newport County, adaptive reuse of buildings like Ochre Court, and continuing wealthy private ownership of some properties. The result is architectural collection, allowing comparative study of Gilded Gilded Age building and providing physical connection to that era. The adaptive reuse model demonstrated by Ochre Court offers lessons for preserving other historic properties. Buildings survive when they remain useful. Maintaining historic houses as museums works for limited number of most significant properties, but cannot preserve everything worthy of preservation. Alternative uses, including institutional occupancy, commercial adaptation, or residential conversion, allow buildings to remain functional while preserving their architecture. Ochre Court's successful conversion from private mansion to university facility shows one viable preservation approach. Economic inequality in contemporary America creates parallels to Gilded Age conditions. The concentration of wealth in relatively few hands, the construction of large, expensive private residences, the emphasis on personal consumption rather than public benefit, all echo Gilded Age patterns. Ochre Court and similar buildings provide historical perspective on current conditions. The buildings demonstrate both the architectural achievements wealth can produce and the social questions such inequality raises. The tension between celebrating craftsmanship and acknowledging inequality runs through interpretation of Gilded Age architecture. The buildings represent extraordinary skill by architects, craftsmen, and artists who created distinguished architecture. Appreciating that achievement seems appropriate recognition of human creativity and technical excellence. Simultaneously, the buildings represent resource allocation, privileging private luxury for few over addressing needs of many. Both perspectives have validity. Complete understanding requires acknowledging both architectural quality and social context. Preservation values reflect judgment that these buildings merit saving despite complicated history. The architectural distinction, the craftsmanship, the historical significance all justify preservation effort. Preserving buildings does not require endorsing the social system that created them. Rather, preservation recognizes that understanding history requires physical evidence and that destroying historic buildings eliminates irreplaceable sources of information and experience. Ochre Court's future depends on continued institutional commitment and adequate resources. Salve Regina University's ownership provides stable stewardship likely to continue for foreseeable future. The university's identity is tied to the building, creating strong incentive to maintain it properly. Barring unlikely scenarios of institutional failure or dramatic change in university direction, Ochre Court should remain preserved and functional as long as the building's materials and structure can be maintained. The building serves as physical connection to American Gilded Age. Walking through Ochre Court's spaces, ascending the grand staircase, standing in the Great Hall, provides direct experience of architecture from that era. The experience conveys information and creates impressions that photographs or descriptions cannot fully reproduce. The physical building allows each generation to encounter Gilded Age architecture directly, rather than only through historical accounts. The ultimate meaning of Ochre Court encompasses multiple dimensions. The building is architectural achievement, demonstrating skilled design and craftsmanship. It is historical artifact revealing Gilded Age social patterns, wealth distribution, and cultural values. It is functioning university building serving contemporary educational purposes. It is community landmark maintaining Newport's architectural heritage. All these meanings coexist, creating complex significance that cannot be reduced to single interpretation. The building survives not as monument to its original owners, but as transformed structure serving purposes its builders never imagined. The transformation from private palace to educational institution represents profound change in meaning and use. Yet the architecture that made the building notable as private residence also makes it valuable as university building and historic landmark. The physical structure endures while purposes and meanings evolve, demonstrating that buildings can survive their original contexts and continue serving society in new ways. Ochre Court stands today as it has stood for over 130 years. The limestone walls that rose between 1888 and 1891 remain. The slate roof continues shedding rain and snow. The Great Hall still impresses visitors with its scale and craftsmanship. The building has survived its original purpose and found new life serving education rather than private entertainment. The mansion Richard Morris Hunt designed for the Goelet family represented Gilded Age ambition and achievement. The cost exceeded $1 million. The craftsmanship involved hundreds of workers over 3 years. The result was one of Newport's most distinguished chateaux, ranking with the Breakers and Marble House as examples of the era's architectural grandeur. The building served its original purpose for barely 2 decades. The family enjoyed summer seasons at Newport, but changing times and circumstances ended that era. The transformation to Salve Regina University property in 1947 saved the building building from uncertain fate that befell many Gilded Age mansions. The adaptive reuse proved sustainable, where continued private ownership would likely have failed. Ochre Court now serves purposes its builders never anticipated. Students attend classes where the Goelets once entertained. Administrative offices occupy spaces designed for drawing rooms and bedrooms. The building that symbolized private wealth now serves educational mission, accessible to students regardless of economic background. The transformation is complete. The building's survival through adaptation demonstrates that historic architecture can endure when it remains useful. Ochre Court continues as living building, maintained and occupied, serving the present while preserving connection to the past. The château stands as architectural achievement, historical artifact, and functioning university facility, fulfilling multiple roles that ensure its preservation for future generations. If you found this exploration of Ochre Court's construction, use, and transformation valuable, please consider subscribing for more documentaries about American architectural and historical subjects. Thank you for watching.